Now, Eyewitness Sports.
Welcome into WPRI Double OT with Yanni Krokis. I'm Ruthie Polinsky, and we have our first guest.
4 years into this thing.
4 years
Something
into this
like
thing.
that.
We have a guest joining us today.
Good
For the first time,
timing.
Kevin McNamara from the Providence Journal. Perfect timing, really. We have so much to talk to you about, and we always love your insight.
Happy to help.
Yeah.
Happy to help. And it's like OT. You know, that helped out a little bit. Now it's truly OT.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to go.
Yes, obviously, we love hearing your takes on all things, but Providence Friars, obviously, we're going to get to that a little bit later in the show, but we're going to talk about just all the things that are happening. And obviously, we want to start with the big news of the week. Heartbreaking news about Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. I just kind of feel like the conversation is transitioning a little bit more towards let's talk about our personal stories to make ourselves maybe feel a little better. So I just kind of am curious about what your reactions were to the news and your favorite memory.
Yeah, like everyone, I was devastated, tragic on Sunday. Didn't think it was real at first because TMZ was the first ones to break it. So us in the journalism business are like, were they hacked? Is this real? Then once it became real, I was working Sunday, so I was sort of in work mode. So I would say it wasn't like grieving that day. And then it stuck with me for the last 2 days. You're just driving or doing anything, and you're just thinking about it. So it's surreal. As Kevin pointed out earlier when we were chatting, he's arguably the handful, 2 or 3 most famous athletes in the world, even though he's 4 years retired internationally. And he's a basketball player everyone wanted to be in this generation. He was Jordan and then Kobe. So it's so sad. Obviously, feel for the victims. My big memory is Kevin Garnett was the first guy to come out of high school in '95. He was '96, and at that point, that was sort of. No one came out of high school, and he struggled a little bit the first couple of years, but then once those early Shaq teams, 00, 01, 02, were so dominant, but then one of those playoff games in the NBA Finals, I think Shaq fouled out, and Kobe just like took over, and you're like, all right, this guy is going to be one of the best ever. And then I remember thinking, when they sided with Kobe over Shaq, and Shaq went to Miami, was that the right call? And it obviously absolutely was. So just, even though we were Celtic fans here, I always respected him. I didn't like him in 08 and 10 as an opponent rooting for the Celtics as a fan, but you always respected him because he cared. And he's one of these guys that wants to rip your heart out when he plays. I think all the players now are a little soft and they're best friends coming up in the AAU circuit. He really wanted to win, and no one worked harder than him. So those are my Kobe Bryant memories.
So we're all good. You stole a few of mine.
Yeah.
But I actually wrote about it in the paper this week. So I first saw Kobe at Providence College. There was a little AAU thing, and everyone said, well, you know, there's some great seniors, but this junior from Philadelphia, he's going to be really good. And sure enough, all you had to do was see him for 5 minutes. You knew he was going to be great. That following year, he's a senior in high school. Providence is playing Villanova. It's the night before. I said, I'm going to go see Kobe. And, you know, it played at like Conestoga High School, and Lower Merion was not, it wasn't even, you know, Hendricken. It was a small, you know, neighborhood school that he took obviously to great heights and the Pennsylvania State Championship. And then he goes to the pros, as Yanni said, and, you know, he's kind of in people's shadows. He was a really skinny 17-year-old kid. It's funny, we've seen the clips the last couple of days. He looks like a little boy.
Yeah.
And then, boom, he became Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a tweet, I think it might have been A.J. Reeves from Providence. He said, you know, I do the falling back and Kobe with the fadeaway. That's what these kids grew up with. They grew up idolizing Kobe Bryant.
I really was thrust into the magnitude of the news. I was in Penn Station when the news was breaking and people were getting notified on their phones and people's phones were going off. And, you know, you're in Penn Station, which in some ways can be, you know, classified as like the center of, you know, all things
Travel,
moving,
yeah, sure.
right? And people are screaming on the floor, FaceTiming in tears. Like I just was surrounded by the impact that he had, you know, in New York City. And then obviously minutes later, Madison Square Garden, which is in the same building, was lit up in purple and gold. So I really felt the magnitude of the news right then and there. And I think obviously, you know, the way that the world has fallen in love with post-basketball Kobe makes this so much more heartbreaking, and the way that the world was following Gianna and her basketball and how she was living on through his name, and the way that he spoke about her, which, you know, is obviously so much of it is coming to light now, and we're seeing it in ways that we weren't watching it originally. But I think that just the way that Gianna loved basketball and how we were going to maybe get to see another Bryant be a successful basketball player, I think that just adds to the magnitude of it. But I think what my favorite memory of Kobe Bryant, and maybe this is just because it's the most recent thing I remember of him playing, was his final game.
Yeah, 61 points.
61
and do you know in
points.
the 4 or 5 games before that, he was awful.
50
Yeah.
shots. He took 50 shots.
Yes.
ESPN
But that was classic
played the
Kobe.
game
They
the other
played
night.
it
I was
last
like,
night.
oh my word.
Yeah.
But the games before that, he was like 1 for 11, 2 for 12. He
Yeah.
wasn't good. He like really dialed it up.
Yeah.
No different
Yeah.
than Derek Jeter, who hit a walk-off in,
Yeah.
in his final game. That was really cool. Yeah, he would have been a big ambassador for the WNBA and
Yeah.
won an Oscar. I
Right.
know a guy who's in business with him and said he's the most curious, intelligent. He wants to know everything about everything. And
Yeah.
So.
It just he transcends sports. You know, the Kobe in the
Yeah.
classroom when you're throwing your paper
Yeah.
into that's iconic, and that'll always be something that people remember him.
And to what you're saying with obviously the tragic way that he died, but how many parents out there have little boys and little girls and they take them to sports?
Yeah.
Everybody. Now, we don't take them in a helicopter, but that's what was going on.
That was his mode of transportation, though. That's
It
how he got
was.
around.
It was. And if he could take, 3 other girls to a game an hour and a half away and get there in 20 minutes, great. God bless you.
And there was a clip that came out too explaining why he started taking the helicopter home from games. It was because he wanted to drive his kids to pick up his kids from school.
Right.
So because he didn't want to sit in LA traffic. So.
And the one difference
utterly
between like
heartbreaking.
Michael Jackson or anyone else, those people sort of, you could see their downfalls. Like he was healthy and 41, and any musician who's died too early, that shock factor, a lot of times it's drug or self-induced. This was, just an accident.
You know what this was? In an odd way, Lady Di. Transportation.
Princess
Yeah.
Diana, yep.
Yeah.
Beloved,
Right.
Obviously
Yeah.
beloved at a much higher level than Kobe Bryant, but and just the shock factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison.
Dale Earnhardt maybe at the Daytona 500, like actually in his sport doing it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Big week that we are not a part of.
Yeah.
For
Were
the
you at
first
the
time in
last
my
two?
New England
I'm
career.
happy about this.
I know you are.
Yeah, 3. I did the last.
I have a little FOMO.
I have a little film. The
Little.
Miami, I mean, come on. Get me to the beach.
We'd have some fun in Miami.
We
Yes,
have some fun in Miami.
I did, what's funny, they showed the late night, the first night, whatever they call it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I don't miss that at all.
Oh,
I know
it's
that's
brutal.
I know that's huge for TV folks. But
terrible.
It's chaos.
No good.
It's chaos.
You don't get much.
Yeah.
I don't think the fans like it on TV either. It's
No,
it's a
I was
bad
watching
TV show.
last night. You're right. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was particularly good.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Predictions. I mean, this is like an awesome matchup.
Great.
Great matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, exciting. That's kind of what we thought about the Patriots and the Rams a little bit last year, and we were not.
That game was
I mean, it was, yeah. But this one has a lot of hype around it, I think. So just kind of your initial thoughts heading into the week and predictions and.
I'll be happy to go first.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the 49ers. I know that they've cruised through here. The way that they truly ran over Green Bay, it was just so odd. I mean, Green Bay was just awful. There's no. It was like a Pop
Yeah.
Warner game.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just hand it to the big guy and he
Yeah.
goes.
Right.
That's not going to happen at the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. I am a believer in the Chiefs, and I think they will score points. So I like the Chiefs to win by, at least a touchdown.
So I also like the Chiefs, and Gresh, you and Maury all picked the Niners because we were taping our Super Bowl special this week. There's a lot of people going with the Niners. I know the Chiefs are 1-point favorite. What am I missing here? I know they have a really good defense, and they have a good running game, and they play mistake-free football. But like, who's containing the Chiefs?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
No one has.
Right. No
And
one.
I think they're so much better. Like the Patriots contained the Rams from a year ago, but I think this Chiefs team with Mahomes is so much different than the Goff-led Rams team last year. I like the Chiefs, not by a lot. I have them 34-30, but I have Kansas City. It's a 1-point game. I think it's the closest spread since the Patriots-Seahawks from 2014.
I'm surprised it hasn't moved much.
Yeah.
That was the line almost as soon as San Francisco was done in the NFC Championship game. I said, boy, I'd be surprised if the Chiefs don't get up to maybe 2 or 3.
And if I know how good the defensive line of the Niners is, isn't Andy Reid going to dial stuff up or enable his quarterback to have enough time to throw?
I think if you are a San Francisco person in this game, you say the Chiefs are going to turn the ball over. and we've seen that in the playoffs. If they don't turn the ball over, they're going to score 34 points. They might
Yeah.
score 40 points. But they do make mistakes, and if they limit their mistakes, they'll win. But the 49er defense could force mistakes.
You got Jimmy G, Ruth?
I got Jimmy G big.
Yeah.
I have Jimmy G
Big.
winning by 2 scores.
Wow.
Right? I think that's what I have. I think I have a 10-point win. I'm not sure.
Will
the
he
exact
throw the
numbers
ball
I
a
give you.
lot?
So I'm a
hope so.
believer in Jimmy G,
I
and
hope
I'm a
so, too.
believer in the 49ers defense. I think that I'm not, and vice versa. When we look at the defenses here, I'm not a believer in the Chiefs defense. And if the 49ers were able to run all over Green Bay the way that they did, I mean, obviously
But
they looked awful.
But Tennessee sort of did that in the first half. Not to a great extent with
Sure.
Derrick Henry like they did against Baltimore, but as Kansas City has showed even against the Pats in the previous AFC Championship, you can do that for 30 minutes. No one's been able to do it for 60 against the Chiefs.
Derrick Henry is the best runner in the league by far.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten the name of the 49ers guy who had 4 touchdowns and
Mostert,
did whatever. he
right,
wanted.
right.
Whatever.
So if you believe in Mostert
Right.
Against the Chiefs, then they'll win. But I don't. I'm not a believer.
Yeah, I just think Jimmy G has been good enough, and he's been solid. He's been played clean football, and I think that's what's going to
I
win you
hope
in these
he,
games.
for the sake of him, this is his first time as a starter on this stage, 2 previous ones, that he has a good game, maybe even wins the MVP, because like there's certain Super Bowl wins, like Russell Wilson's first with the Seahawks, Trent Dilfer with that Ravens, where you're just sort of an anecdote to the Super Bowl win. So I hope it's sort of a Jimmy G, if they win, a Jimmy G-led Niners win.
Yeah, I agree. And they were talking about this on the radio today. Like, how do you think Bill and Tom feel about Jimmy G? Do they want him to succeed? Do they not want him to succeed? I think Bill probably wants him to do well
So
to
Bill,
prove.
Toucher and Rich asked him today. He said he still gets occasional texts from Bill.
Yeah.
Not every day, probably, but
Right.
from time to time.
And Tom texted him last night and
Yeah.
said, "Go win it."
They worked together for 3 years. That petty jealousy that fans run with, I don't think it exists.
Really?
I really don't.
Yeah. I think it's-
why would they not root for Jimmy G
Yeah.
over Pat Mahomes, who's their rival really in the AFC
Right,
Sure.
2
yeah.
years in a row?
Yeah.
Why not? God
Yeah.
bless him. you know?
Sure. Sure. All right, let's kind of go through these next questions. Speaking of Tom, where's he going to play next year, K-Mac?
Well, I certainly hope it's Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I think financially it makes sense for New England to bring Tom back, and I have a hard time believing that they think that Jared Stidham is ready. And if they have to go out and get a free agent, he's going to cost as much or more than Tom. So
Why not say
Tom
fake?
makes it.
great
Now,
options.
that said, Tom may not want to do that.
Right.
He holds the cards for the first time in his career.
And with Philip Rivers.
Is that a David Price analogy? I hold the trump card now.
Trump card. No.
And also, I mean, with the news of the Chargers reportedly parting ways with Philip Rivers, that opens a spot
That's
for him in
actually
LA.
a spot that makes sense, right?
It does.
It does make sense. Willie McGinnis, I guess, went on the record saying Giselle has gone on record and said she doesn't like LA. Just saying.
Ooh, and McGinnis is an LA guy, so he
I
doesn't want to
mean-
throw shade on his hometown.
I
right?
mean, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the question is, if it's not Tom, then who? Like, that's definitely the best option for the Patriots
If
at
only
this
they could
moment
turn
in
back
time.
the clock to 3 years ago when Jimmy G was waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
I go back and forth with this every day. You're saying
Okay,
he's
well,
playing?
so let's turn back the clock. What would you do?
Hold on. I'm not saying actually go back
Because
then.
I'd like to
I'm
go
saying,
to 3 Super Bowls like they did.
Yeah. I think
Seriously.
it was the right decision right now, 2020.
Yeah,
But
sure.
if Garoppolo wins 3 Super Bowls,
He's not going to win 3 Super Bowls.
and you could have maybe had why 2?
How about 1?
Could
Then we can
Garoppolo-
talk about more.
Could Garoppolo have won the Super Bowl with the Pats last year? Does he make those throws in Kansas City that Tom made?
I would say no.
I would probably say no too. So at this point, I agree with the trade. But 10, 12 years of Garoppolo, if they don't find the successor to Brady in the future, then it's revisionist history. Where's he going to play next year? I'll say Foxborough today.
Yeah.
But ask me tomorrow, and that can change. It makes sense, and you said financially, because they're taking this. If he moves on, $13.5 million cap hit if he stays 6.5, and there's a new CBA in 2021. So if they can get a number they can agree to, it makes sense for them to keep him. Like you said, they don't have a natural successor unless they think it's Jarrett Stidham. And are you going to pay Teddy Bridgewater or one
Right.
of those guys that money,
Phillip
or bring
Rivers.
in Phillip Rivers? So not great options unless they like Stidham more than we think, and then Bill just gives the keys to Stidham. Or I can't imagine them also playing a rookie because it's too complex, the offense, to play a rookie. So
Right.
It's going to be nervous times, though.
I think kind of an underrated storyline that we've kind of maybe forgotten about a little bit is the fact that Josh McDaniels is back, and I think that helps. I think that helps Patriots fans if they want Tom back, and I think also it's just really hard to envision him in another jersey, and I think that's kind of what Robert Kraft feels too. I think Robert Kraft would be heartbroken.
But Robert
to lose
Kraft was quoted in an interview in 2013 when he thought that was last Brady's contract, saying, we aren't equipped or we don't want to give 20% of our salary cap to one player. And that was in 2013. So I think it's his preference for Tom to stay here, but I don't put it beyond Kraft to move on for financial reasons.
Well, and Bill has to flip his plan because Tom played this year in a 1-year contract. We're going to go year to year. That's not going to work.
Can't do it
It has
again.
to be a 2-year deal.
It has to.
So all of a sudden he's 45, and
Right.
maybe 45 at average 24, 25 million is okay. But 2 years, average in the low 30s, it's a lot of money.
Here's the other question, though. If you let him walk, can you reset your roster and maybe put in Stidham and take a step back, but then you take that money off the books, Stidham's already on the books, and you sort of allocate the resources elsewhere?
Well, let me ask the Tom Brady question. If I come back for 30 and then 27, a 2-year deal, and that restricts Bill's ability to give me some help, which I
Right.
sorely need because Bill's done such a bad job managing the roster for the last 2 years, why do I want to come back?
Right. That's the rub, too, right? The more money, the less help. The more help, the less money.
Right?
Right.
Right.
I think it's going to be tough for any team to be able to throw Tom a 2-year deal, right? Or is
Not
someone
the
gonna
Chargers,
crumble?
who need season ticket holders and a brand new stadium and any sort of buzz in a town in Los Angeles that has a lot going on.
Not a bad point.
But Tennessee, I think Tennessee's the dark horse.
I kind of like it.
What does Tennessee do? Tannehill is a free agent.
Tannehill.
He's Tannehill.
Tannehill.
So what is he going to do? I mean,
Right.
AFC Championship, you just let him walk and bring in a 44-year-old guy, 43-year-old guy?
Right.
Okay, it's different.
Right.
If they
different
think this
boys
is their
and
window,
girls.
they think this is their window. These windows close fast.
They do,
Like the-
especially when the best player on your team is a running back. Those
Right.
guys don't have 10-year careers. Henry is a star. He's the focus of the offense.
Stud.
Big
I
time.
want Derrick Henry.
He's big time.
Would you pick Derrick Henry over Tom Brady?
What? No. No running back.
I know.
For next year, 2020? Yeah, I think I might actually.
Man,
Sure.
All right.
running backs are overrated.
Okay, reports surfacing today, multiple reports that seem to be confirmed by various outlets, but Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach, legendary 71-year-old Scar, is going to retire.
That's it, 71.
71.
Fun fact, House in Narragansett.
I was going to say that
You knew
means
that?
we'll see him in Narragansett Beach. That's where he hangs.
That's
He loves
where he
it there.
hangs.
Yeah. Is he a golfer?
He's not a golfer. He's a beach guy, though. And
Love
know,
it.
I think he's more in Charleston.
Oh, is he? I
because-
think I've asked him this. I think he said Narragansett, somewhere in the pier.
Okay. Well, then we'll definitely see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
This is
spot.
a blow because when he retired and Dave DeGuglielmo came in.
Who's now in Miami, right?
I think he got
He had
canned.
a cup of coffee he didn't last.
Yeah.
It was bad coffee.
The
No, I
Pats
think he's
O-line
back. When we did
wasn't great then.
we did our New England Nation, he was on my list of the tree.
Actually, I saw his name in the mix with the Giants, so I think he's
Interesting.
hopping around.
Oh,
a little bit
perhaps.
with the Chatters.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no underselling how big Scarnecchia was for the Patriots offensive line. Injuries, they had like a revolving door a couple years ago, a ton of injuries, always plugging spots. And it's not like they've had these big, highly priced first-round picks there. They've been, sort of mixing and matching with guys, third-rounders, fourth-rounders. So he'll be missed. I mean, more turnover to the offense in terms of personnel. And
And Joe Tooney is a free agent.
Joe Tooney's
Ted
a free
Karras.
agent.
He's gonna get a nice.
Yeah.
He'll
run.
make.
Yeah.
I don't know
He'll
who
be
the
on the move.
successor
We also-
is,
I mean-
too. I mean,
Isn't gonna draft
and isn't
bring in
keeping
some
Brady
guys.
upright at his age paramount?
That just
Right.
means GM Bill has to make some calls, and he's not too good at those things.
Yeah.
Well,
Making calls.
Bill's
Well, I'm
not
a little-
good at going out of his
doesn't
system.
have-
So
I'm a
what
little
if,
sour on Bill as a GM, if you haven't noticed.
yeah, hold on. If Bill
Yeah.
doesn't have, he likes to groom coaches from the ground up. If he doesn't have anyone in the system, guys he brings in from the outside haven't always worked out all that great.
No. And obviously he lost O'Shea as well.
Right.
O'Shea.
You mentioned Joe Tooney. I mean, not that this is he's up to that caliber, but you have Ted Karras, who's a free agent. We don't know the health of David Andrews coming back.
Right.
And then obviously with
Isaiah Wynn?
Isaiah Wynn, who
Shackman.
can't stay on the
he's been
field.
shaky.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, there's just a lot. That's an offensive line that's not in great shape, I think, heading into the offseason. And I mean, if there's one person you have faith to fix it, it would be Scar. And
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
a
kind of
problem.
It's a problem.
that's a big problem to lose him, I think.
And
for
what
sure.
a throwback. I love him because he's like,
He's great.
Oh, he's so good.
he's just a old school football coach.
Oh, for sure. Right.
And it was so cool to see the old man, and it didn't matter who came in, the 22, 23,
Yeah.
24-year-old guys, they're like, Scar, he's the guy.
Yeah.
That's it. They
Yeah.
bought in
They love
right
him.
away.
Yeah,
And
he
he's
can
this
relate
tall,
to them.
coaching guys this tall.
And he can relate to them, which I think is maybe his most amazing quality and characteristic. And when we talk to him and hear from the assistant coaches, he's just a legend. All right, switching gears to Red Sox.
Nice.
They
Second
don't have
to
a
last
manager.
topic, I think we got this in college.
Yeah, this in college.
How do you feel about the Red Sox?
How do you feel about the Red Sox? I mean, no manager.
Mookie in limbo.
More Mookie rumors. What's going on
Were
there?
you weren't at the press conference when they?
I wasn't.
It was sort of bad.
I watched it on TV.
Yeah.
And I'm just not. I don't like the whole deal. I don't like the fact that they're down $35 million and they charge ridiculous amounts to do anything at Fenway
Yeah.
Park. Why are they backtracking? They're one of the most wealthiest
Right.
franchises in Major League Baseball, and they're going to backtrack because it's good. It's good for the future. What are you talking about? Just win now every
Right.
year.
Right.
The luxury
Obviously,
tax.
they have issues with pay the luxury tax. It's
Right.
not that much money.
Yeah.
They have a problem because they don't have good enough players, and their minor league system is so
Right.
bad. Well, fine. If you want to trade Mookie Betts and you get 4 great prospects, fine. But you're not going to do that. Mookie Betts, he's a free agent.
Right.
So I'll be really, if they trade him, which I don't think they will. Now I think they'll trade him mid-season. I'll be curious
Sure.
if they trade him now,
Heartbreaking.
how much they would get.
Right, because that team's getting a rental and no assurance that he's
Yeah.
staying. So I agree with that. You see how this team is. If this team's doing really great,
Keep him.
ride them for the year.
Sure.
See if you can maybe make another run at a World Series. But it seems like San Diego and LA are the suitors right now. If you can fleece the Dodgers like you did on that Josh Beckett, Carl Crawford thing where you got a lot of guys back, maybe you make it work. But I don't know. There's been a lot of, Bryce Harper left the Nationals. They win the title the next year. Robinson Cano made huge money leaving the Yankees. What have the Mariners done? I don't know. Baseball's that one sport where even if the best guy leaves,
Right.
you can sort of piece it together. As for the managerial search,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who's the front runner right now?
There's been
Is there one?
What's going on with your baseball brethren? It's like no one has any scoop.
No one has any news. I think they like to hire from within because they like the staff. But until MLB does
Right.
their cheating investigation, you can't hire anyone from the staff
'Cause they
because
might get busted.
they turned a blind eye to it. So, is it
Right.
Ron Renicky who was the bench coach?
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think
have
you
no
almost
idea.
do you go interim tag? I don't know, but then you sort of throw away the year. I don't know.
And with Pedroia, probably not coming back as a player.
I
Could
guess
he be a
Veritek
manager?
could be a no. I don't. want
Veritek
Pedroia's name.
is a probably a decent 1-year plug, and if he
Right.
works out, great. If not, he probably wouldn't want to come back.
Right.
It's going to be someone we've never heard of. They're not bringing in Dusty Baker like the Astros reportedly did today. Did you hear that?
I did. That would make sense for them. Bruce Bochy, people throw his name out there. He's supposedly not feeling well. That's why he stepped away. That would be a long term. But then again, he's no kid. So I think they're better off plugging unless they find someone who they really think can be good and then revisit it. Because it seems as if this year, although they think they're going to be good, is kind of a cast. If they trade Mookie Betts, it's kind of a castaway. The pitching rotation is a joke. Everyone's hurt. So in theory, everyone has to have bounce back seasons. What's the chance of that happening?
I don't know. Baseball's a weird game. They went first to last every year for
Well,
a
they
few
did.
years,
I guess
few
that's
years
true.
back. They have a good lineup.
Yeah.
Devers, Betts for now, JD Martinez, everyone's back. Benintendi, Xander.
Yeah. I think it's just funny that they just don't have a manager. Spring training is in a week, 2 weeks.
I think pitchers and catchers report or truck day is February 3rd. That's next week.
When is MLB expected to be done with the investigation?
No,
There's no timeline.
word, no
I
timeline.
got to say, first time face to face with Chaim Bloom. He was an impressive guy, smart, composed. He was a little nervous on the press conference.
Wouldn't you be?
Bad job putting 4 people
Very
up
nervous.
there because they kept contradicting each other.
That was the disaster of a press conference.
I know that John Henry has to be out there because he's the principal owner. He's just bad on TV.
Oh.
It's simple as that. But tell me why Tom Werner is there.
Yeah, why is chairman like it's such a power play thing? Like,
yeah.
it's like everyone needs to be in the picture. It's like when girls take a selfie and it's like everyone needs to be in it. We don't want Shelly to feel left out.
Right.
I'm glad you didn't say Ruthie, by the way.
Yeah, Shelly.
Ruthie's in all the selfies.
All right.
All right, last topic.
Let's go to college basketball. Localizing this episode of Double OT. URI on the up, PC on the down. We're going to call it a down.
3 in a row is
3 in a row is down.
Down.
Do you have Friar fans chirping at you?
I liked
all
your,
the time.
I loved your tweet the other day.
Twitter is a busy place.
I loved your tweet the other day being like, this might be like a masochistic thing to do, but what are your questions?
Yeah, bring it on.
Bring on
it
your questions. What are your questions?
Well, it's funny.
for me?
Bill Koch, who he covers URI for us, he does this frequently, and I said, Bill, what are you doing?
I
You're
know.
going to field questions from the fans? Well, that is what we should do. So,
Sure. And it
I was
creates
stuck on
engagement.
Amtrak for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that was
it's
my
a great way to.
It's fun.
I'm always afraid to do that because I'm like, what if I get no questions? Like
You're
you
no
guys
Kevin
have such a
McNamara.
concentrated following of certain teams.
Sure.
Yeah.
That you know, do you think most people are, regardless of what Friar fan, are they negative to you, or do they think you're a homer, or do they think you're critical?
I'd say they think I'm more critical, actually.
Does Ed ever call you and is like, does he ever call you out for being critical?
I don't think Ed reads the paper.
Really?
I really don't. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but I don't think he does.
Every
You know-
once in a while,
you know-
he'll like a tweet. Every once in a while, he'll like a tweet
Yeah,
that I'm like, what
he
are you
is
doing?
on Twitter a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what? You know what? One reason I may disagree with you on that. He came in here once, and then he remembered something Don Darrow said about PC like months earlier.
Yes.
And I was
On
like,
Double
was
OT.
that bulletin board
It
material
was,
for
it was
you?
probably like a video clip.
Someone shared it.
yeah.
Maybe
Video,
like
I think,
his
maybe
staff.
creates more,
Yanni,
you know.
I said he doesn't read the paper.
Yeah.
That's different than
Right.
playing with his phone,
Sure.
which
That's
he
true.
plays with his phone.
Sure. Yeah.
I can attest to that.
All right, let's start with URI. So they play tonight. We're taping this at 3 o'clock on a.
4:12.
Yanni loves to do this, so we tell everyone. Like,
Tuesday.
we don't date ourselves.
Isn't that responsible to do?
Yeah.
So URI plays tonight. Tonight?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
George Mason.
I'm like confused
At
on the days
George
of the week.
Mason.
At George Mason. Yeah, they look.
game they have to
as
win.
correct.
Have to beat George Mason, and then a huge one on
VCU.
Friday.
VCU, it's gonna be
VCU comes in. VCU
They've
is
played
always
well
a
with
great
VCU.
game.
They will get more.
They already won at VCU.
Yes.
They've had good success with the
They
Rams.
have. They have.
Yeah. They knocked them off in the A10 tournament last year.
The way after the Brown game, if you said URI is going to make a run and potentially make the tournament, I'd say you're crazy. There's some, this team, like all college basketball teams, Kevin, they could be streaky, right, and lose 3 games. Like we don't know, but if they continue to trend the way they're trending, then they could get an at-large bid, as Kevin was saying earlier, if they're the second best team in the A10. So what are their quality wins at this point? If they beat a Dayton, VCU?
VCU for sure.
VCU.
Yeah.
Alabama has been fair.
Yeah.
But it was a home game. I mean, the way the NCAA does it with this quad 1 and quad 2, they have a decent amount of quad 2s, not many quad 1s.
What's PC win? Not
PC would be a quad 2. No, I'm sorry, it wouldn't be because it was in Kingston.
It was at
Okay.
home.
It has to be in the top 35, I believe.
But
an opponent in the top 35.
Great. I think if you
But,
go back to March of last year when they made sort of a mini run in the A10 tournament through this year, I think David Cox has done a great job with this group.
I mean, just the difference in that team from a year ago, too. I think when you look at the guys like, the Fats of the world, the Cyrills of the world, they are on the up and they are just getting better game in and game out. I think Cyril
defense.
maybe had a little, the defense is that's their
Calling
their
card.
brand. I
Right.
mean, that's just who they've been, and that's picked up beautifully. David Cox has picked that up, I think, from when Dan left.
Well, and I give them credit. They brought in some kind of the next wave.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be Jeff Doughton, Fats, Russell good, but the kid Toppin certainly has an awful lot of talent. Tyrese Martin, as a sophomore, is a consistent shot maker that a lot of people would like on their team. Do they need more size? Do they need more depth? Absolutely, but it's college basketball.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
get by with just if you have a good core.
Right.
Yeah.
You can win some
You
games.
stay out of
Good
foul
defense.
trouble.
And the A10 is better, but it's not stacked.
Yeah.
You have to beat VCU and Dayton, and they're in position to do that.
It's awesome. And then the Friars.
Friars,
The Big East is so good.
Kevin,
It's
correct
so
me if I'm
good.
wrong. This
Yeah.
is probably the most talented PC team. Even their most hold on, stand by. the team that made the tournament 2 years ago, would you agree this has more talent than the Rodney Bullock, Jalen Lindsey, Kyron Cartwright team?
No.
Really?
I wouldn't. Alpha Diallo was on that team as a
Baby.
perimeter player.
Was that the first
player.
four team? Was that the team that was
That
first
was the
four?
first four team.
No, the year before was first four, because that year I'm talking about is that went to Charlotte, that lost to A&M.
Got it. Yes, that was when.
What I'm trying to say, I guess, is based on their talent, I think they should be better
On paper.
than they are.
I agree with that. I think, first of all, a lot of the talent is a little overrated. Fans and media people, we see the recruiting rankings, which are done by goofballs looking at 14 and 15 and 16-year-olds. It's really hard.
Right.
But why we take that as gospel and run with it, it's a flaw in the whole basketball ecosystem. For example, Fats Russell and Jeff Doughton were not in the top 100.
It's true.
Let's flip some of the Providence kids who were in the top 100 with those guys, and we have a different conversation here. And that's no knock against the Providence kids. There's a slew of top 100 kids who don't play in college. Forget
Right.
about the all-league guys. But Providence is a group this year with talent at every position, and it doesn't mesh well. And I think the number one thing is they don't have a pure point guard. And it's like not having a quarterback in football.
Right.
Yeah.
So Duke off the ball, like, do you want him to have the ball more? Because he had that standout game 2 games ago. What is your preference with David Duke?
I want him off the ball, and I want him attacking. And that's
Okay.
what he did
Yeah.
against
Right.
Creighton,
Yeah.
and that's what he can do. And that's what you'll see next year. Unfortunately, he has to handle the ball a lot for this team because Malik White is more of an undersized 2-guard.
Right.
Pipkins he wants to shoot as well. He's not really a pass-first point guard. That's what they need, is a pass-first point guard.
I think they need the studio. Tony, you need the studio? Yeah.
I think we've got to go. It's 4:17.
This is what happens when we do
All right,
three
sorry.
people.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Double OT. Kevin McNamara, what a fun guest to have you here. Thanks
So
for
much
joining
fun.
us. It
Thank
was
you.
so fun. We'll do it again soon. We'll see you next time.